Hello, today we are joined by Benjamin Williamson-Westerman from the company called is Your Footprint, based in Oxfordshire. Is that right, Benjamin?
We
Is it based?
are we are based in Oxford, yeah. We are
Great
here
stuff.
at the Wood Centre in Headington Quarry.
Fantastic. So how are you today, Benjamin? How's the day going?
Well, the work day's been good. Lots of things happening. Just um, being in dialogue with UK innovation.
Excellent.
Um, that's a very challenging process if you're interested in getting funding for some sort of a innovative idea. Um, so I've been emailing backwards and forwards with them today.
Interesting.
Um, yeah,
Okay,
I'm
well, maybe we can touch on that in a second or two. So, first of all, thank you for sparing some time to talk to us on the Business Spotlight podcast series. So, just be great for us to just hear a bit about what it is that your business does, what services it offers, and sort of what you offer people, really.
Well, we offer SMEs the opportunity to buy certified carbon credits from our platform. So if you are a budding entrepreneur who's forward thinking and has the vision to be as impact free as possible, then there's a lot of things that you can do proactively. But one of the biggest challenges that we've discovered that small businesses face in this transition is the cost of doing a full. It's called Scope 3, but I've been told many times not to be so jargony. But basically, you have to do a carbon accountancy declaration to get to be officially recognised as being carbon neutral. And to achieve that, there's a lot of hoops and hurdles one has to jump over. And what we do is we streamline that process and make it incredibly easy for small companies to find areas where they can improve their business, and then the areas where they can't improve the business, we provide them access to a certified carbon credit. So we're the first organization um, to date to provide a guaranteed non-greenwashed carbon credit that's certified at a European level, a standard of
Okay.
certification beyond national regulatory control. So
Yeah.
obviously we work with national governments on the rollout and implementation of the certification in that particular region. All of that's really jargony and really boring, unless you're, of course, you're a computer nerd. But when it comes to what we offer small businesses, we offer them a way to maintain a competitive edge, become lead field, and our focus is to supply upstream manufacturing businesses with a competitive edge to their downstream supply chain. And
Okay.
when we talk about upstream and downstream in that context, we're talking about the flow of carbon in the manufacturing sector, which is where the scope 2 and scope 3 come in.
So if I was a small business owner looking
Yes.
for your services, is that a way of creating a sort of a business service that then has a carbon neutral footprint?
That's exactly what we would do. We
Yeah.
would offer, we have a branding and certification platform. So you would then be able to use our branding on your products.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about our system, unlike others, is that we are 100% transparent.
Okay.
So you can provide your own customers with access to our system, and then they can check for themselves to see where the carbon is coming from, how much carbon they're paying for. We can even, if necessary, give them the GPS location of the carbon that's being sequestered. So it's quite a robust system, and yeah.
So it allows you to walk the walk as well as talk the talk, doesn't it? Being able to actually present yourself as a carbon neutral company and back it up with evidence to support.
Absolutely, that's the key. That's the goal, at least. I mean, you know, there's we still have a long. We're still a startup as well, so we're not, you know, we're not an all singing, all dancing clown show yet.
How many years have you been running now?
Well, that depends on where the start date is, which start date you choose. I bought the farm in 2013, and I became the first carbon neutral beef farmer in Northern Europe in 2021. So if you take it from the day, well, I mean, we were talking earlier about Yorkshire. I had my first job on a farm as a young boy, filling milk into milk bottles on the local dairy farm in Todmorden in Yorkshire, where I grew up. So I don't think you can say I started back then, but I think somewhere between 10 years and yesterday. You know, we're always doing something. We're always trying to do something new. But when the well, I can tell you, we started the company proper in 2021. And we moved the technology to the UK in 2022. So Stolbeck Limited, the company that holds our intellectual property, that's a separate company from the Your Footprint Limited, which is for legal reasons. That acquired the IP in October 2022. And so you could say that that's when we kind of started. I mean, it's all starting to become a little bit blah blah blah. But yeah.
So the idea was incepted right at the early age, but filling milk bottles and things, and then, you know, living.
I had absolutely
doing it with the farm.
I had no idea.
So the seed was sown at that point, but
I don't know. I mean, I worked. I had a cheese shop in Banbury for a few years, and my parents had a few cheese shops knocking around in North Oxfordshire in the Cotswolds. So I went from working on a dairy farm to running a cheese shop to being a chef to buying my own farm to opening my own restaurant. Martin and I had a bit of a project in his. That's my cousin Martin, for the viewers. In his Burger and Brews in Carterton. We had a little bit of I had a restaurant concept in Denmark called Duck and Fries, which had 8 of the 17 Sustainable Development Targets from the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And as we were developing that alongside our beef and the restaurant we had on the farm, all of those things were kind of like intersliced with one another. And Martin and I did a little bit of a test run of the Duck and Fries concept at his burger restaurant in Carterton.
Very good.
So it's you know, it's my passion lies in food and in food production and in farming.
Yeah.
But COVID was a disaster for the food industry. And luckily, we'd already started developing a piece of software to provide the services that we developed ourselves for our own farm to other farmers and to other farming institutions in Denmark. which is where the farm is and where the
So that
restaurants
there's
work.
clearly an entrepreneurial spirit in you with the, the sort of different business activities that you've gone through and started up and been involved in. There's a lot of potential entrepreneurs out there that have got ideas or got thoughts or got dreams of going
Yeah.
off and doing something. And quite often self-sabotage is something that gets in their own way. So kind of talk ourselves out of doing it. What advice would you have for somebody listening to this podcast thinking, I've got an idea, but I'm not quite sure whether I should take the leap? What advice would you give them?
Well, it's not. I can't claim ownership of this advice because this advice, I have a feeling it's Melinda Gates actually.
Okay.
But the piece of advice is this: accept criticism because people can see what you're doing wrong. Do not follow their advice because nobody knows your problems better than you do.
Okay, so just say that again for us.
Accept other people's criticism because they can see what you're doing wrong. But do not accept their advice because nobody knows your problems better than you do.
That's really, really powerful advice, isn't it? Really
Well,
powerful.
this is why I don't take any credit for it because it came from somebody who's
Yeah.
considerably better at this than I am.
So there's having having the vision, there's having the determination, the perseverance to push on with it. There's naysayers out there that will try and
Yeah.
hold you back. It's appreciate their advice, but don't listen to it. Yeah, there's
Well,
a lot
I
of
mean, what the thing about it is, and this is really, really key, everybody can see what you're doing wrong
yeah,
because it's blatantly obvious what you're doing wrong. Everybody can see it, everybody knows what you're doing wrong. So when somebody tells you you're doing something wrong, listen to them, hear it, recognize it.
right,
But
yeah,
then when they tell you how to solve that problem, when they tell you what they think you should do, don't follow their advice because they won't, because they don't know you, they don't know where your background is, they don't know your passions, they don't know your weak points, they don't know what drives you, they don't know anything about what makes you who you are. Only you know that.
yeah,
So they can see you, or they can see what they think they see of you, which is normally a reflection of themselves in some way. And
yeah,
everybody's on some journey in some way, doing something. But yeah, that's it's really, really helpful. It's been really helpful for me at least because I'm very, very open to change. And being open to change is also an important thing. You have to be open to change because um, well, change is repairing your own mistakes, isn't it? Change is doing things differently. Change is recognizing that you have to learn and that you have to grow, and that to do that, you have to stop making the same mistakes. And that's
yeah,
where that's the self-sabotage. Making the same mistakes again and again and again is insanity, isn't it? At the end of the day,
absolutely.
that's the fellow with the E equals MC squared, whatever the hell his name was.
Einstein, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The patent officer.
It's interesting you say about the change because I don't think anybody put it better than Darwin, isn't it? It's not the strongest of the species that survives, it's the one that's most adaptable to change. Businesses survive through change and adapting to marketplaces, to current trends and things like that. So being aware of where you are and being aware of the need to change is a really important facet of a successful business.
I think. I mean, I kind of rail at that a little, to be
Okay,
honest with you,
interesting.
because well, I mean, it's a delicate balance, isn't it, between the demand of the customer and maintaining a level of quality. And if you have a very high quality product and lots of people want it cheaper, at what point do you sacrifice
Yeah,
the quality of your product to provide that service to a wider audience? And that's
yeah,
a very delicate thing. And some people will say the customer is always right. And this is where working in the food business is a bit of a tricky one, because when you're dealing with French cuisine, yeah, and somebody comes in and says, I don't like it like this. It's like, well, the recipe's been the same since the 1600s. I don't really know what you want me to do about that, really. Confit duck fried in its own duck fat, has been recorded for posterity in the French archive in 1563 or whenever it was. So I
Yeah.
can't claim any responsibility for that idea, you see. And when
It's re-
people, do you understand where I'm
Yeah, I
coming
do, and it's an interesting new point around that quality thing, sort of rather than So Brian Tracy talks about this. Brian Tracy, from the author of Eat That Frog, I think that's his probably most
from?
famous
Right.
book. He's an
Yes.
author. He's probably written 100 books, all on sort of sales, marketing, and all that sort of stuff. And there's been a fair amount of research on it that actually increasing quality of a product or service is a better formula for success than it is lowering costs to sell more.
Well, I mean, if you look at companies like Coca-Cola and McDonald's and companies like Apple, and Tesla for that matter, they maintain an extremely high standard of brand awareness. And brand quality and brand stability is one of the things that has real power in the marketplace. So if you don't get your branding right and you don't understand the level of detail necessary and the level of protection required to have something with that kind of impact,
Yeah,
and yeah, that if you want to be Dupont, for example, the pen maker, you can start tomorrow, but don't expect to be 200 years old on day one.
yeah,
It's and if you and I'm all for new heritage. I'm all for new quality and vision and passion and all of those things. And whatever idea you've got is a representation of your own, what would you call that? Your own magnificence, your own. I was going to start to sound a bit spiritual here, and I don't mean to, but everybody has an inner beauty and an inner passion and an inner wisdom, and whatever that is can literally just become whatever you want it to be. And if you can find that in yourself and you can remember not to let other people tarnish that, you know,
yeah.
then it's yeah,
Interesting.
it might sound a little bit too Buddhist in its principles, but they call it polishing the internal mirror
Again, sort
for
of,
some reason.
yeah, it's a valid point. Jim Rohn talks a lot about working harder on yourself than you do on your business. The more you grow, the more the more you can succeed at things, and put on the oxygen mask to yourself first, and all of that sort of
Well,
stuff.
yeah, you got to take care of number one, haven't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, you're in an industry. You're in an industry that's under an awful lot of focus at the moment. That sort of carbon footprint side of things, and I
Mm.
imagine there's a huge amount of change going on all the time with various different legislations and things like that. How do you stay abreast of all of that information and that change going on in your world?
I don't know. Feel like being a little bit flippant to that remark, to be honest
Okay.
with you. Um, I would say YouTube, really.
Yeah.
You need to get your news from somewhere. You know, I'm in my particular business. Um, you have to be registered with DEFRA to get the information that I get. So it's not widely published information, and so it's only if you are if you're a recognized farmer and you have farming credentials, then you get updates about the decisions that DEFRA is making once those decisions become public. But that's not something that normal people have access to. So you know, it really is a case of, like, I suppose I'm saying the internet really, aren't I, rather than YouTube. I mean, you have to do your own research and you have to know where the information that you're looking for is, and you need to understand um, where that edge of the market and information related to that market is being discussed. And sometimes it's on YouTube, and sometimes it's in chat rooms, and sometimes it's just general. It depends. It depends on what type of a business it is, really, I suppose.
So I guess you're saying it's sort of purposeful, focused research and knowing where to go to get the right information, knowing how to validate that
Yeah,
information, make sure it's accurate rather
yeah.
than just general knowledge consumption.
Well, I would say a bit of both, really. I mean,
Okay.
you need to have a broad understanding of the market for whatever it is that you want to do, because it's having that understanding of the market that gives you the either lets you know that there's space in that market for your product, you know, or that maybe there's an unfilled demand in the market in some way. And then you need to tailor make your product to that niche market, don't you? Or to whatever. Well, I mean, it's such a complicated thing, isn't it? Because on the one hand, you've got to think about what it is that you want to do as a business, you know, what you want to achieve as an individual, and then you've got to look into the market and ask, can I where can I be of service?
Hmm.
You know? And then once you've recognized that, then you have to go through the painstaking, and I mean painstaking, process of talking to your customers and understanding their needs, and finding out whether or not you have what's necessary to supply them with their needs. And if you do, then do it. You know, it could be, as like I say, it can be as simple as pen, can't it? You know, if you want to do something and you can see that people need that thing, then all you have to do is figure out how you make it happen.
Route to market, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd go as far as to say manifest it. You know,
Okay.
I would go as far as to say, imagine what it is you want to achieve, believe that you can do it, and then watch it happen.
How do you prioritize your time? You obviously got lots of things going on. What sort of stuff do you look for in your week and your day to make sure that you balance your time working in different areas effectively?
Yeah, I don't really do that. I don't really do that. I have yeah, oh, well, yeah, I don't work that way, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm a little bit strange in that sense. I can't, I'm neurally diverse, so I have no phonetic coding, so I don't understand word classes and grammatical structure, so I don't have my brain doesn't function in those kinds of boxes like a normal person would. So I structure my work around objectives. So if I have an objective, then that objective will take priority whilst I'm working on that objective, depending on how much energy that objective requires, I will pull in smaller tasks, try and maximize the amount of energy that I have to deliver in that period, with maximizing the amount of tasks that I can achieve based on a prioritized list of. Normally, people have deadlines. They're not just me that has the deadlines. There are people have milestones, and there are budget considerations, and the costs and expenses, some of which are fixed, some of which are flexible, and yeah, I just kind of throw myself into it,
Okay.
really, and then just kind of uh, judge what's the highest priority and try and stick to that. It's not necessarily good advice, but it works for me.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, isn't it? It doesn't. There's no one size fits all with things like that. There's no sort of like perfect formula to say the most productive way to work is X. There you go. Everybody
No,
should do the same. It's finding what works for you and finding that rhythm and routine that gets the best out of you in the circumstances that you're in. Really
I,
interesting. Really interesting.
I mean, I think the education system in the Western world has really kind of failed us in a way, because my cousin has other side of the family set up a Rudolf Steiner school in South Africa and another one now in Hebden Bridge, and she's and the Steiner system is very creativity driven, and creativity as a way of managing your business is very, very reluctantly accepted by the financial world, because um, it's normally perceived as creative accounting, or something that could possibly be considered criminal activity, or tax evasion or whatever, because you can't break the law just because you want to be creative. So it's a peculiar it's a peculiar world that we live in, where there should be space to be as creative as you want to be, whilst at the same time being in line with all of the rules and regulations and laws and financial constraints and expectations that are already well established precedent in the world that we live in. And I think there are many young people who have that passion, that drive. They've not been knocked down enough to give up. They've not they've not been inundated by the haters, as Taylor Swift calls them, and
Yeah.
they still have enough drive and enough passion to break through those barriers. Um, and sometimes when you hit a wall, the wall was built a very long time ago for a very good reason. And the idea is not to break through the wall or climb over it. The idea is to recognize that that wall is there both to protect you from what's on the other side of the wall, but also to protect whoever's on the other side of the wall from you. And
Yeah.
so navigating all of those challenges as a young startup is incredibly difficult and very, very disheartening. So yeah, don't give up ever.
Don't
Never
give
give
up.
up.
Yeah.
Never give up, because you've not failed until you've given up.
Yeah, the sort of time where most people give up is just before they're about to break through, just before they get that next level of success or get the success that they've been looking for. It's why, a lot of organizations seem to be an overnight success. A lot of entrepreneurs seem to be like an overnight success, but you look back through history, it's 10 years of, like you say, not being recognized and giving, persevering and being resilient and pushing through that creates that success.
Yeah, sorry, and my phone just rang. Let me just turn it on to do not disturb. Sorry about that. Yes, no,
So,
you are perfectly correct. You are perfectly right. It's a well, you know what? Let me just say something about that. Not everybody wants to be the biggest,
mm,
brightest, greatest, amazingest, this, that, and the other. Lots of people want a lifestyle business.
mm,
They want a community that they're a part of. They want a business that is about their local environment, their local ecosystem, their local business network. Not everybody wants to be an international business. And if you want that, then that's also fine. But success doesn't necessarily mean loads of money.
Correct. Yeah.
Success means achieving what you want to achieve in your life and becoming the thing that most reflect most beautifully symbolizes who you are as a person to the people that you love and to the people that you care about and to the businesses that you service or to the customers that you service, and then just being that for
Yeah.
those people. And all you need to do really is to make £1 more than you spend, and then you've made it.
Yeah.
That's all you need is to just be on just on the other side of that red or black line, you know?
It goes back to what you were saying earlier, isn't it, about being your own person and you know your wants, you know your needs, your desires, and be true to
Yeah,
yourself. And yeah,
yeah,
don't be somebody that somebody else wants you to be or you think they want you to be. It's be clear on what you want out of whatever you're
yeah.
looking
Don't,
to do.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
worked for the Oxford Hall for the Masonic Lodge about 30 years ago now. Um, and one of the brothers, I was working in the bar. And one of the brothers taught me a sentence which years later found out is actually not even true Latin. It's actually pig Latin, and it's not conjugated correctly. But the phrase is "nil carborundum illegitimi," and it means "don't let the bastards grind down."
Okay.
And that's really, really important. If you're a young entrepreneur and you've just started out, there's going to be, it's a mountain that you have to climb, and everybody will tell you that there's something wrong with what you're doing. You're too expensive, you can't deliver it fast enough, your competitors are better at it than you are. They expect a discount for a startup discount, or they'll only buy it if you sell them 10, or they want two of each different color, or whatever it might be. And that will bring you to your knee, you
So
know?
being in business is hard. So there's lots of work to get off the
Ah,
ground.
it's easy.
There's
It's
there's
easy.
there's lots of challenges. There's lots of naysayers. There's lots of
Yeah,
perseverance, and
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
advice. There's lots of advice givers and things. Is it
Yeah.
worth it?
No, absolutely not. Don't do it. Get a job. I don't know. It depends. I mean, it depends on what kind of a person you are. You know, like I said, if you're the per- if you thrive in that kind of an environment, then you will know. And if you're not that kind of a person, then that's also a journey to go on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not everybody is cut out to be in business.
I'm picking up from this conversation a need to have a lot of self-awareness, to be sort of aware of who you are, aware of what you enjoy, aware of the strengths that you've got and the resilience you've got.
It might just be stupidity, to be honest with you, David. It
Blind
might just be
stupidity.
it might just be blind stupidity, and wholeheartedly believe in a little bit of blind stupidity. If I'd have known today, if I'd have known when I started what I know today, I would never ever have started this.
Well, who is it that said, was it Colin Powell that said you need between 40 and 60% of the information to make a decision and then act on it? And I think that's kind of, if you have more than
Yes.
60%, that's when the self-sabotage starts to kick in, isn't it? You're almost waiting for too much information rather than just act. And then,
Well, you know what? We're back to talking about risk again. And risk assessment is a really, really tricky one. And depending on the size of your business and the size of your growth, or the speed at which I mean, we don't want to get too boring about integrals and summations over the curve, but but understanding where you are in your growth is also an important aspect to calculating your risk. And risk assessment within a process is a really important part of understanding because when you're young and naive, and believe me, I am still young and naive, 50 years old and still young and naive, you can maybe look at a problem and just see the solution and go, oh, well, if that was there and that was there and that was there and that was there, then it would just work. And so then the next question is, well, how do I make all of these things? Well, if somebody gave me £5 million, then I could put that there, that there, that there, and then it would all work. Yeah, but if you don't have £5 million, then there are two answers. Either you're not supposed to do it, or you've got to earn £5 million before you can do it. And earning £5 million is not an easy task.
No.
So it's that assessing the risk and the challenge, and then being able to either maintain your momentum throughout all of those changes, or to have the courage to recognize that you have to take a step back and maybe wait for 5% more information, if that's what's necessary. And that assessment of risk, when should I push on, when should I hold back, I think that's maybe what Colin Powell's talking about when he talks about 40 to 60%. I would say maybe wait until you've got 70% before you start dropping bombs on people's heads.
Very true. Yeah, very true. Or maybe even more than 70%, but
yeah,
but
do you see my point? So
yeah.
so again, it's and another thing as well, listen to your mother, listen to your wife. Women in business today are incredibly undervalued, and I have great respect for female entrepreneurs. And I think there are a lot of female entrepreneurs out there today that have a monumental mountain to climb in terms of the barriers to success that exist in the culture in which we live. But things have changed. They might not have changed where you are, but they've changed globally. And in the big wide world, there are no barriers except the barriers you put for yourself. So I would trust your instincts, and believe in yourself, whoever you are, wherever you're from, whatever it is that you want to do. That's how I've got to where I am today, and I'm a complete and utter failure.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, you're clearly very driven, very motivated, got a very, successful business and resilient to challenges and things like that. So where do you see yourself and the business in 5 years' time?
Oh, where do I see myself in the business in 5 years' time? Well, I mean, we can all dream, can't we? And it's in 5 years' time, gosh, I wouldn't want to say, really, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to say, because what I'm doing is incredibly delicate. It's an incredibly delicate process. And I've been asked this before. And I think the best way to put it is that our focus is planting trees. That's what all of this is about.
Okay.
It's about reforestation. So we're about providing customers with carbon, and we're about providing farmers who have land with customers that want to buy that carbon, so that they can commit to planting trees on land that they're harvesting cereals on, and that we can then provide that carbon to a stable market. And if I can get that to work, in the next 5 years, I'll be happy. But to be honest with you, wouldn't mind if I die before it happens, just as long as when I go, I can see that it's going, that the seed is, So I mean, I've got everything I want out of life, I've got
It's a really clear mission to be able to communicate, though, planting trees.
Well, I mean, it's not easy planting trees.
No, not easy, but it's a clear
People
message.
think people think it's easy to plant forests. Planting forests is a lot harder than cutting them down. I can tell you that
But it's
much.
easy to get behind it, isn't it? It's to get motivated by it as an individual, as a person, to get motivated by that mission.
I think again, what we work with is skepticism. That's our main challenge, and the only way to overcome skepticism is transparency. And so there's no convincing, there's no getting behind it, there's no believing in it. It's literally, we have the data, we have the transparency, we have everything in place for the customers to be able to get any answer they want from our system. And at the end of the day, that's the point. You know, if you want to buy carbon and you're worried that you're giving your money to somebody who isn't, maybe they might have the best intentions in the world, they might have the best vision, they might have the best people behind them, but if they don't have that transparency that provides the customer with a 100% guarantee that what they're paying for is going to continue to provide them with what they paid for moving forward, then the customer's not going to be happy. And that's where our focus is. It's about maintaining transparency and providing customers with that level of detail and that level of security.
Planting trees with transparency, integrity, and guarantees. Nice. So that's been really interesting. What question have I not asked you that I should have asked?
Oh, what question have you not asked me that you should have asked? I didn't come into this with any expectations, really. I don't. Gosh. I suppose. I'm thinking about the audience. I'm thinking about the businesses in your local area and what they could gauge, what they could learn from listening to my story. And if you've asked, you know, your audience, and you know your the business environment that you work. So if you feel like you've asked me all the questions that can relate to all your audience and what they would want to hear, then I'm good. If there's anything else you want to ask me, please feel free.
No, it's been really, really good. Really good to hear your story. It is it's an inspirational one. It's very motivating to listen to somebody who's that passionate about, you know, climate and the carbon footprint and doing the right thing. How would our listeners get in touch with you if they wanted to find out a bit more about what your services are and, you know, what you do and find out about the company?
Yourfootprint.uk.
Yourfootprint.uk.
Yeah.
There you go.
Really easy.
Simple. Benjamin, that's been brilliant. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for your honesty.
Excellent. Thank you, David.
Good to have you on board.
Thank you.